Hello, welcome to the Wedding Reporter podcast. Today we have Marry Me Tampa Bay owner and Behind the Vows owner, Anna Coates. And she is the owner and editor of Marry Me Tampa Bay, like I just said. And Behind the Vows is a wedding content creator service. So, with over a decade of experience as a publisher, Anna has appeared as a wedding expert on national talk shows and has provided wedding planning advice for the Washington Post. She is also a marketing consultant, speaker, and educator for the events industry. Owning an online business allows Anna the opportunity to pursue her favorite activity, which is traveling the world. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to
Yeah.
sit down with you and talk to you, but also share about this crazy new offering called wedding content creation.
Oh, yeah. I know. I'm so excited. If you don't know what wedding content creation is, this is the episode to listen to because Anna has all the details on it. It's something fairly newish, maybe within the last year or so. And so I'm really excited to tackle this topic with you. So let's start off. What exactly is wedding content creation for those who may not know what it is?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, this is a new service, a new category that has launched and taken the industry by storm. But basically, it is where couples will hire someone, content creators, to follow them around throughout the day with their iPhone and film kind of behind the scenes content from their iPhone. Now, the big kicker with this is that they get all this content usually within the next day, so 24 to 48 hours. So that's been the big appeal and big draw for couples is they don't want to have to wait, 6 months for their final video. They want to relive that moment instantaneously, and that's what they're used to.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's so cool that that's something that you can offer because it's yeah, normally couples are wanting that instant gratification of show me all the wedding photos. I spent a year, sometimes even longer, planning this big event, and to have to wait to get your photos, your professional photos back is hard for people sometimes. And yeah, you get a sneak peek and everything now and then from your photographer, depending on who you're working with. But to be able to have that behind the scenes footage, and especially with how like people love taking the internet by storm now and showing off their wedding and everything, and being able to put together a fun reel about their amazing day. And so to have somebody who's there who isn't responsible within the wedding party, where it's the day can get carried away as far as if you assign this job to a bridesmaid or something, and then you don't get as many photos or videos of the day as you may have thought, where by hiring a content creator, it's that's their job throughout the whole day, is to just provide awesome video and photo footage for you, as a great memory. So I love that you're offering this service. It's so cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So at what points during the wedding day or possibly the wedding weekend is it best to hire a wedding content creator? Are there, I guess maybe walk me through a little bit of packages or hours that you offer, and is it for the whole entire wedding, or can you purchase just a getting ready package, or speak more on that
Yeah.
for us?
So the cool thing about wedding content creation is it really kind of varies based on what the couples want. And they want it for different reasons. So when we first started doing this, I thought that it would be more kind of like an influencer type of couple who really wants to showcase
Hmm.
the grandness of their wedding. Surprisingly enough, most of the couples, when I ask them hey, are you planning on posting a lot on social media, or is this more just for you? Most of them say that it's just for them. They want to be able
Wow.
to relive that day the next day because, as we all know, the wedding day is completely a blur. Yes, you're there, you
Hmm.
experience it. Don't always soak in it when it's happening. So, a lot of
Hmm.
times they want it just for those memories, just to relive that, and not necessarily to blast it all over social media. So, I
That's
find that to be
cool.
really interesting. So, because of that,
Yeah.
depending on what they want it for, couples will choose different things. For example, we have a wedding coming up where the couple is really kind of focused more on the interactions with their family members and their friends. The bride is doing like 4 or 5 first looks with different family members and things.
Wow.
So that's really important to
Cool.
her.
Oh,
And she
yeah.
doesn't really care that much about the reception and dancing and everything. So we're
Mhm.
doing a shorter amount of time. We have another couple who's just the opposite. They're like, we're doing this epic balloon drop at the end of the day, so we want
Oh,
you here until
wow.
11:30 at night. So
That's
we're
so
going
fun.
to forego some of the earlier parts of the day to be able to stay later. In terms of packages, though, it kind of is going to be similar to what your photographer or videographer would offer.
Okay.
Most of our couples do an 8-hour package because they do want to get that whole part. They do want to get the getting ready. They do want to do the ceremony all the way down to the reception. And
Mhm.
people always ask, well, what's the difference between content creation and videography? And coming
Yeah.
from the publication side of things, we
Mhm.
definitely hold what photographers do, what videographers do in the highest regard. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
always tell couples when it comes to videography versus content creation, we do not have you mic'd up. So if you
No.
want to have, those really crisp, recordings of your vows, we are not going to get that. We will have the video of them, we'll have the ambient sound, but we may be standing pretty far away. So we're not going to get that actual nice, crisp sound you would get from your videographer. And then we also
Mhm.
are typically not recording the entire ceremony in terms of we'll go and record it from this angle, we'll move and record it from this angle, but it's not going to be one continuous fluid motion that you may get from a videographer. We always like to
Mhm.
say that we're kind of like their plus one. We think that it's great
Yeah.
to have, in addition to a lot of our weddings, we are in addition to the videographer. Sometimes we're not.
Mhm.
But it's just a great way to get some of those smaller, intimate moments that you wouldn't necessarily think about. So, for
Yeah.
example, something that we always tell couples, whenever you're doing kind of like your bridal party portraits, you'll get that, the cute shot from your photographer, but it's always like the moment before and after that's the really like the touching part, right? It's like the laugh that you do
Yeah.
right after that photo. Or
That's
maybe if you're
cool.
doing portraits with your new spouse, you've got that again picture perfect angle, but then afterwards maybe they do something or say something that's really funny. So a lot of times it's those really
Mhm.
intimate small moments that make for the best type of footage for content creation. While the big stuff is the
Mhm.
big stuff and it's important, it's those small
Right.
things that really make a difference.
That is so true. Like, you're right. With wedding content creation, you do capture those in between moments because you're right.
Hmm.
Like, with photography, with videography, it is about the big moment and you're about the little moments. I love how you put that. I think that
Yeah.
describes it perfectly. That's really cool and so
Another,
interesting. Oh, go
yeah, I
ahead.
was gonna say another great example too. We did a wedding recently where the couple incorporated their dog. Dog was really important. And a shot that may or may not make it into the actual wedding highlight video is the dog came down the aisle before the bride did, and like just seeing the groom's face light up when he saw his dog running down the aisle toward him, that isn't something that necessarily may make it into the main videographer's footage, but it's something that was very small but so important to them because they love their dog.
Oh, yeah. I love that so much. That is so cool. So, another question for you as far as deliverables go from what your services provide for this, is it like you will create a reel for them, or like is there a certain amount, like you provide X amount of Instagram stories or like two TikTok videos, like that sort of a thing? Or is it more like, I'll take your phone, record footage, and like you do with it what you want to do with it afterwards?
Yeah. So it also can kind of vary based on what the couple wants. What we provide in our
Yeah.
typical packages is going to be all the raw footage. So we actually don't use the
Okay.
couple's phone because we don't want to be responsible for their phone.
That's great.
And
That's good.
to be honest, a lot of times they won't have enough memory on their phone anyway because we're recording videos for like 8 hours. So there are
Oh, yeah.
hundreds of videos. So we record it on our phones and then we usually will send them, a Google Drive or some type of link the next day where they have access to that.
That's cool.
But with that said, a lot of people don't realize too, and we didn't realize until we started doing it, how much work is still involved. We still go through all the clips and delete the ones where someone walks in front of us, or if there's
Mhm.
something where we need to cut off the last 3 or 4 seconds, we will do that. So even though we're not editing it as a full highlight video per se. There is a lot of post production that goes into it. When it comes to the deliverables at the end, I would say on average, maybe they would get 400-ish videos. It kind of really depends, but
Wow.
a ton of content. Again, small, quick
Wow.
snippets, maybe 10-second videos here. They're not going to be, 5 minutes long for each one. But then, yes,
Hmm.
we do edit it down and then give them what we call a sizzle reel of kind of highlighting
Ooh,
the day throughout
fun.
the day. So that's
Okay.
just a great way for them to be able to relive that. Usually, the edited reel comes within 2 to 3 days after we edit the content. But it's a great way for them to have something to post on social media right away if they want to have that, or just to be able to go back through and be like, oh my gosh, this is our wedding day. This is what it was like.
Hmm.
We do post stories to our Instagram, and then if the couples want us to, they can post it to theirs too. We can tag them where they can repost it into that. But again, sometimes we have couples who may post one little thing but keep all the content for themselves. Sometimes they'll post a couple
Hmm.
things, sometimes they'll post a lot. So it's really how much they want to share. But we find that content creation is more for them than sharing
Yeah.
everything with everyone.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think that's so cool. And 400 videos, like you are getting what you're paying for here. Like that's an amazing amount of content that you guys are actually creating for them on their day. And it's, yeah, like I feel like when you get your videography back, like most times it's like not really raw footage. It may be a couple clips during the day. And then, of course, you get your trailer, your wedding trailer. But yeah, for you to be able to provide that much content to pretty much relive almost the entire day if they wanted to just by watching the videos that you guys are creating, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Very cool. And then as far as like your reel goes, this is more like question for me. Like, are you setting that to music for them? Like when
Mhm.
you're editing it? Okay, so you're like picking a song and everything to edit
Yeah.
like okay, very
So what
cool.
we'll do, we'll give them an edited reel to music so they kind of have that full effect. But we also send
That's
it to
cool.
them without music. So if they want to change out the sound, they can. And then, of course, they
Mhm.
have all the content too. So if they want to cut it up in a different way, they have the ability to. But we like to give it
Mhm.
to them in a final state just so they can kind of take in that whole experience of seeing that reel, with music edited, to the beat or whatnot. So they can kind of see what that looks like. So it's, again,
Mhm.
just a great way when you have all that excitement. It's so fresh to get
Oh
it back
yeah.
so quickly and to be able to see it. It's just
Mhm.
a really cool thing to do.
Yeah, that's really awesome. All right, let's go on to the next one. So I know you said like it's mainly couples who want this content for themselves and not necessarily people who are posting it, which is so unique and interesting. Um, so do you find other than that there is like a certain type of couple who tends to book you guys, like as far as maybe like their wedding aesthetic goes or personality goes?
It's really all over the board. A lot of
Yeah.
times, again, we assumed when we first started doing this, it would be kind of big, lavish weddings. And by far, yes, those
Mhm.
couples definitely book us. But
Yeah,
it's people who just care about the moments. They care the
that's
fact that,
cool.
like, hey, I'm having all of my family together and we're never together all the time. Or it's the fact that, this is a really big, important step in their lives. We do a meeting with the couple, like a month out before the wedding. And we just had it to where the groom joined us, which I thought was awesome. Like, he's like, yeah, we've
Yeah,
been talking about the type of content that we want and things that we want. And it's really
that's
great to
cool.
see, not just the one person involved, but them as a couple, talking about like, hey, this is some of the content that we want to see.
Mhm.
So we love the fact that everyone's excited about the content. It's not just one person.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's so cool. I love that couples who, like, plan their weddings together and are, like both have opinions on, like, what, should happen during the day. Okay, I know you're a jet setter and you love traveling, so do you travel for weddings as well, for content creation, or do you mainly try to keep it to Tampa Bay area?
We have not traveled outside of our area yet, but definitely open to that for sure. And,
Cool.
we see a lot of content creators who are traveling around. And I think, too, with it being so new,
Yeah.
It's hit or miss. Sometimes you may have a ton of content creators in your area. Sometimes you may not have anyone in your area where you do have to hire someone to come in.
Mhm.
Something though that we are trying to let couples know, luckily we come from the wedding side already. We're not just
Right.
someone who makes social media content for another industry and we've entered the wedding space. We've been a part of the wedding space for a long time. So something that
Mhm.
we try to educate couples on as well as vendors is the fact that your content creator needs to understand how a wedding day runs and how it's managed. The content creator can't
Mhm.
come in there and be the most important vendor of the day. We always tell our couples that, hey, your photographer, your videographer, they always get kind of first dibs on everything. We will sacrifice our shot so that they can get theirs. Because if they are in our shot, not a big deal. If we're in their shot, kind of a big deal. So we're very, very conscious of that. And we have a meeting with the photo and video team beforehand to learn how do they work, especially with different ceremony situations. We've had a ceremony where it's just kind of out in an open space. There's nowhere for us to quote hide. So we always have
Mhm.
to think about logistics when it comes to that. Or if we're in kind of a tight space, maybe it's a church where there's not a lot of room to move around, but there is a photographer, a second shooter, a videographer, their
Wow.
second shooter, and us. How are we all going to
Yeah.
navigate that? So that's something that we always want couples who are thinking about hiring a content creator to make sure that they hire someone who has wedding experience, because there's a lot that goes into hiring the wrong content creator could possibly affect the way your final photo and film comes out from your photographer and videographer. And we also
Mhm.
like to educate photographers and videographers of like, hey, this is how we work. You're not going to have to worry about us, because I'm sure a lot of
Mhm.
them do, because they may have had a bad experience in the past from that. Or they just think, oh gosh, now I have to compete with one more person to get this shot or that shot. And that's definitely not the case for us. So,
Mhm. Wow. The way you're running your business is so professional, and I think, yeah, especially because you have worked with vendors for so long and you know how weddings operate and you've been in this industry. It's like you can now create this new business off of the knowledge that you already have. And to meet with a videographer and a photographer for a wedding you're doing beforehand, I think says so much about your business and your credibility as well, because it's like you're saying you want to provide the best quality possible, um and have a camaraderie on the day of the wedding so that no one's getting in the way of the other person. Because I already know, like, speaking from experience at my own wedding, you kind of see sometimes photographers and videographers trying to get the same shot, and there's some dissonance there. But like you're saying, adding more people into the mix, if there's a second shooter, if there's two videographers and a content creator all trying, like five, up to five people possibly sometimes trying to get the same shot from two people, a couple, you know. Um I mean, and of course the whole wedding day with everybody else. But like I guess I'm thinking more of like, when you're doing couples portraits and things like
mhm.
that, or like during the ceremony, you know, you don't want it to be like, you may now kiss the bride. And then it's like a content creator is standing right in front of like where everybody can see, And so it's like being mindful of that and like having that experience under your belt is so important to know your limits, and also working together with other vendors to just see how they operate and things too. I think that's so good.
Yeah. And that's the issue with, having a bridesmaid or having a friend do it is
Oh
yes, they
yeah.
may be able for sure to get that content, but they're not going to realize like, oh, I can't stand here during the ceremony because that is where the photographer already has someone stationed, or that's where the videographer has their stationary camera.
Mhm.
So it is really important, and you would think like, oh, how hard can it be? But there are so many behind the scenes logistics that only a vendor knows that the couples don't necessarily know. Something else to think about if couples do want to do a kind of a lot of like trendy transitions or like things like that, that needs to be built into the timeline.
Oh yeah.
Photographers have such a tight timeline of, hey, we only have 30 minutes to get photos with all these different people. So
Mhm.
there's not time built into there. So also understanding that too, if you are going to hire a content creator, um, if they are not going to meet with your photographer needs to know about it, especially if you're planning on
Yeah.
spending time with the content creator, doing a transition from your getting ready outfits to your dress or doing something like that. They need to account for that time. Also,
Mhm.
too, a lot of photographers and videographers have in their contracts that if there's another media person on site that they need to know about it and they need to approve it in advance. So again,
Mhm.
something else for couples to realize whenever they're hiring a content creator, run that by your videographer or your photographer because some some may say no, like I'm the only one that can be there. It's unfortunate if they do, but they a lot of times will have that in their contracts. So we always make sure to educate our couples on that because
Mhm.
otherwise they just don't know. And that's the last thing you want to do is have any awkwardness to where there's some, your photographer doesn't want your content creator to be there or they're making it difficult for them to get their shots, which again, most I would
Yeah.
hope wouldn't, but it's always
Right.
just something to understand and be educated on.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's so important. I feel like I'm learning so much from this interview that I'm like, wow, it takes a lot to be a wedding content creator and a lot of behind the scenes work and a lot of, work with other vendors before the wedding actually happens and to deliver a great product where everybody's happy all around. The couple is happy, the videographer and photographer are happy. And I think those tips that you shared are so important. It's like you need to read the contracts that you're signing, like across the board here. And for it to be okay for your videographer and photographer to have a content creator on board. Like you said, because some may not allow that. And it would really suck to get to the day of, and then this person is like, the photographer's like, who is this person now?
Yeah. You don't want any
Which is
surprises
great.
like that for your vendors for
No
sure.
surprises, no surprises. So, yeah, this is so great. So tell me more about Marry Me Tampa Bay. I love this because I run Nashville Bride Guide, the local wedding publication here in Nashville, and you run Marry Me Tampa Bay, the local wedding publication in Tampa Bay area. So tell me more about it. How's it going? And I feel like we're just kindred spirits since we essentially have very similar jobs, just in different cities.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I am so thankful every single day for the industry that we get to be a part of. For those who don't know, the wedding industry is a very tight knit, close industry, at least in our area. And I'm assuming it's the same thing for
Hmm.
yours, where the vendors, it's very
Yes.
interesting if you think about it. You are taking all these individual businesses, maybe on your wedding day, you have 10, 12 vendors and you're hiring all these people and then saying like, hey, you all need to work together. You may have never worked together before, but work together and
Yeah.
create this perfect day for me. So the level of professionalism and respect that is needed for vendors to be able to seamlessly work together and to help each other out, like that really shows when you hire a really great vendor team. So for us, we
Hmm.
publish local weddings that have happened in our area. And we do that so couples can not only get inspiration, but if they see a centerpiece they like, if they see a, a backdrop they like, that is local to our area. So it's a great way to
Hmm.
not only get inspiration, but actually be like, oh my gosh, I love this. Who did this? You can hire them because they're local. In
Hmm.
addition to that, we host a lot of vendor networking events so that our vendors
So
can get to know
fun.
each other because that is super important. And then
Hmm.
we also provide a ton of advice and insight to our couples. I always say that an educated couple obviously makes better decisions on their wedding day and don't focus so much on price. I know that everyone wants to, and it's so important,
Yeah.
but to understand that, hey, if you hire this vendor just based on price, there are so many things that you're not taking into account. You're just looking at, oh, well, 8 hours
Hmm.
divided by this amount. There's so much other things that go into account. So we like to educate them. And we have, just as you do, our vendor guide where we have personally vetted them. We know them. They have
Mhm.
references from the industry. So you're not just relying on a Facebook group, or you're not just relying on a review from anyone online. You know that
Right.
these people are respected by the industry. So we provide a ton of insight to our readers of, hey, if you want some to know what venues you should look at, here's our venue guide. If you want to know who are the best photographers, here is them. And we tell our readers that we've done the research to make sure they're reputable. You just need to make sure that they are the right fit for your style and your budget and the personality that you're looking for.
Mhm. Amen. I'm all about that here too. I love what you're doing in your area. It's awesome. I think owning a local wedding blog is so important. It's like, yeah, I love that you have networking events. I think face to face connection is so important for vendors. And to provide a local, reliable resource, like you said, with vetted vendors is so important. So definitely go check out Marry Me Tampa Bay. And if you're getting married in that area, and also behind the vows, like where can people find you and contact you online?
Yeah, so we are at Marry Me Tampa Bay for our socials, and then at behind_the vows for social. And something I do want to
Okay.
point out, since you are
Yeah.
in Nashville, and Nashville is
Yeah,
known for epic bachelorette parties and bachelor
we
parties,
are.
do not sleep on hiring a content creator for your bachelorette party. That is
Yeah.
something that, like that is all moments. And you will get some great content that you will laugh about for years and years. Some content you may
So
cringe over
true.
too, but a lot of it, you're celebrating with your closest friends. They're here to support you. And that is something that some of the content you get from that is so, so good. So don't just think about it for the wedding day.
Mhm.
Batch party is a great chance to incorporate content creation, even if it's not the whole weekend. Maybe it's just you go out and what's the big famous street you have in Nashville?
Broadway.
Broadway. So yeah, maybe it's just you're going out with your
Yeah.
girls then, your guys then, or maybe you're just at the Airbnb, like hanging out in the pool. You have all your cute matching outfits and whatever. But that's also a really great
Mhm.
place to incorporate content creation, especially if you're in Nashville. So
Oh, yeah. I think that is a great option because you always have the phone with trying to get everybody in the selfie or like setting it on a timer and setting it up on some weird shelf and your phone can fall over. And it's like, if you hire a content creator for that, everybody is going to be in every photo and video if you want them to be. You can get some really great shots at different angles without having to
mhm,
just like rely on a shelf to hold a
yeah. And it's all
hold your
about
phone
those
up.
little moments. And you'll just have so many times where during that type of event, you'll just have someone do the funniest thing that no one's recording,
Oh,
because
yeah.
why would you record them?
Right.
But yeah, you'll just find that the funniest things happen and some of the best memories happen during that time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, come book a bachelorette party here and we can hang out and get lunch or
For
something.
sure,
So,
right?
yeah, that would be so
Absolutely.
fun. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anna. This was so great. I'm so glad that we got to chat again, and I loved hearing all about Behind the Vows. Go and follow her at Marry Me Tampa Bay, Behind the Vows. We'll have all that linked in the show notes. And thanks so much. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to the Wedding Reporter podcast. I hope you learned a little bit and had fun today. To find more resources and podcast episodes, visit NashvilleBrideGuide.com for more information. And as always, click the subscribe button and leave us a review. Until next time, I'm Alyssa DeChico, signing off.